MSNBC's Joy Reid offered her hot take on how he got there. She tweeted, Scalise was shot by a white man with a violent background and saved by a black lesbian police officer. And yet, she blamed the race of the shooter, didn't bring up his beliefs. Talk about racism. Why would she do that? To avoid the shooter's beliefs? He was her network's biggest fan. But it's all the result of the left making politics personal. If you don't believe a person is just wrong, but evil, like I've said before, then you can say or do anything. I'd say she dug a hole for herself with that tweet, but then she dug an entire plot.
It's a delicate thing because, you know, obviously everybody is wishing the congressman well and hoping that he recovers. But Steve Scalise has a history that we've all been forced to sort of ignore on race.
You saw that butt coming, didn't you? Right after the fake compassion, she kept going.
He did come to leadership after some controversy over attending a white nationalist event, which he says he didn't know what it was. He also co-sponsored a bill to amend the Constitution to define marriages between a man and a woman. He voted for the House health care bill, which, as you said, would gut health care for millions of people, including 3 million children. And he co-sponsored a bill to repeal the ban on semi-automatic weapons. Because he is in jeopardy and everyone is pulling for him, are we required in a moral sense to put that aside at the moment?
My gosh.
Yes, you are, Joy. So nice that you're pulling for him. Let me ask you this. A woman is raped. Do you feel compelled afterward to dredge up her stance on abortion or global warming? This idiocy spread like a virus. Washed up Star Trek troll George Takei copied Joy. The officer who saved bigoted homophobic rep Steve Scalise during baseball practice was a black lesbian. So who is he insulting? Scalise, who trusted this woman with his life, or the woman herself? George seems surprised that the officer did her job. It's creepy. Now, maybe it's rude to point out how repugnant this is, but at least I'm not doing it while Joy or George are in medical crisis. Scalise may have been in a medically induced coma, but these people are in moral ones. What is the need, Dana, because you're a Twitterer.
Less and less these days.
But what is the need to register a hot take afterwards?
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Can we ban
the word hot
phrase?
take? I hate it.
Yeah, okay,
but
so
I'm using it sarcastic.
Can I have
a hot take? That music bumping was the worst, I think, music you've ever played.
That's the Revillos, a punk band from the 70s.
When we have you committed involuntarily, we'll play this clip.
You play Gitmo detainees when you're trying to torture.
That was just
he was playing it for Joy Reid.
Yes. It was punishment.
I think this is what's interesting is that everybody seems to think that they can speak on behalf of Officer Griner.
Yeah.
And she has been very quiet, right? So, and why don't we just let her recover and speak when she wants to? But to your take, your hot take, law enforcement always does its job, right? They do their job regardless of politics of any sort. And believe me, you can actually work and do your job even if you disagree with somebody that is sitting with you.
Yes.
Here we are, all doing it every night.
Yes.
It's not impossible to do.
I'm sure, Juan, that if I fell over here, you would give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. But I would.
I can tell by Dana's hacking laugh that she thinks that would be pretty hilarious.
I would watch that.
Everybody always fakes that.
But do you know what? I thought it was weird that she pointed out the race of the shooter and not his beliefs, Juan. I mean, I thought that was just glare. Like, why does he have to be a white shooter?
Well, I think we live in such a racially conscious country. I mean, the fact is, if the shooter had been black or an immigrant or Hispanic or something, everybody say, oh my God, and you can imagine the blow up. So this is the left, Joy Reid, saying, oh, this is our reaction. It's quite different. And we're going to point out that the 2 cops involved were black people who saved his life.
Why should that be out of the ordinary?
And I appreciate your point, because remember, this is such an important point that in the middle of the campaign last year with Donald Trump, when Trump brought up the Hispanic heritage of a judge,
right.
Guess what? Then all of a sudden you saw Paul Ryan say, you know what? When you say that someone can't do their job because of their race, that's the definition of racism. This is the definition of racism. If you say a cop can't do his job because he's black, or she's black, or she is of a different racial, sexual orientation, that's crazy.
You know what I had a problem with, though? She's calling this cop the black lesbian.
Yes.
Yes.
He's not even calling her name. How demeaning is that? Like, oh, the black lesbian shot the white congressman. I mean, that's not how people speak. And I don't think the police officer would like to hear herself described on national television as the black lesbian. It just doesn't sound that good. And leave it to MSNBC to turn a partisan political assassination into Democratic identity politics. It's like when there's a surgeon, they bring someone into the ER room. It doesn't matter if the guy's a rapist, the guy's a Republican, the guy's Canadian. It doesn't matter.
Canadian.
Whoever, throw whatever you want to in there. They're there to save their life. Justice should be blind in this matter.
The officers on the scene, the EMTs that arrived, tried to save the shooter's life.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd have a problem with that. But go ahead, Kimberly.
You're such a mean person.
The female officer's skill set, her ability, her patriotism, her dedication to Congressman Scalise has nothing to do with her gender or sexual identity. It is so demeaning that Joy did that and said that. She's actually an example of the problem that exists in this country. And when you see something like this, where the left always, they don't want to identify anybody by a sexual gender orientation. They see all things. But yet here, then they want to, this and that. And then they want to call people out. They want to label them. They want to box them. They want to confine them because it suits and it's politically expedient for their argument.
Yeah, you could just sense with Takai and Joy and everyone else who'd used how excited they were when they found out the police officer was a black lesbian. That's why you...
Do you know what is kind of annoying about it? That whole thing had been going around on Twitter for 2 days before they actually, because everyone was like, that's actually not something we're going to say. We actually are too classy to say that. It took them 2 days before she was the first one to do it.
Yeah, they didn't treat Gabby Giffords like this. I don't know why they're treating Scalise.
Horrible.
Sad.
All right.
Well, the good news is he's
doing
improving.
Great. He's improving.
Yeah, they had him in a medically induced coma and they brought him out and apparently he's getting there.
So they say he has a chance of an excellent recovery.
Excellent.
Thanks be to God. And to the doctors and the nurses who took such wonderful care of him.
Yeah, first we should find out what their identity is before we compliment them. That's what the MSNBC way.
This is a gender-neutral discussion.
That is true. I'm of indeterminate gender.
We're going to leave. We've
that.
always known it.
Yes.
But it's charming nonetheless.
Yes. Is the Russia investigation becoming too political? That's next on The Five.